Those words, affirmed, all justices concur. Our legal director, John Davidson, exclaimed in his Facebook status a few hours later, using the immortal words of Meredith Willson, "Oh, there's nothing halfway about the Iowa way to treat you." When the Iowa Supreme Court handed down its decision on April 3rd, many around the country expressed shock and bewilderment that we had even filed a lawsuit there, let alone that we had won it. But not the donors to Lambda Legal, and in particular, not the Chicago donors to Lambda Legal. You steadily supported the work that went into this case for years. You asked about it at donor events, you brought your friends, you told your family and your friends in Iowa, and you asked them to support us, and this victory belongs to you. This win also belongs to Iowans. Here's an honest Iowan truth. No one tells an Iowan what to do. Iowans initiated this lawsuit. They sent us letters and they called us. In fact, one couple from Iowa City used to call me periodically just to recite the Iowa State motto into my voicemail. It goes, and I know it well now, "Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain." They told us their stories, and they promised us that they would be treated with dignity and respect if we filed a lawsuit on their behalf. One couple, Bill and Otter from Decorah, a bucolic town close to Minnesota in the northeast corner of the state, explained it this way. Bill was a taxi driver and a stand-up bass player in an old-time Scandinavian dance band, and Otter is a church organist. They are foster parents, and they would communicate over the taxi radio as they were discussing their grocery lists or whether they had to pick up diapers for the kids. Bill told us, "Our community already knows us and values us. Listening in on the taxi radio is actually the only form of entertainment in Decorah." We trust our neighbors and our community to understand why it is that we want to marry. We need you to file this lawsuit. So the success of this lawsuit is due to the faith and the bravery of our plaintiff couples like Bill and Otter and 5 others. They opened their lives for almost 4 years to often very harsh media attention. And further, when we approached 2 of the couples with children and asked if they would add their children as plaintiffs themselves, they didn't hesitate. We owe an enormous debt to the courage of these plaintiffs, and also to the efforts of all of the fair-minded Iowans across the state who dedicated themselves over the last 5 years to the struggle to educate the public about the need for marriage equality. Here's another Iowa truth. Iowans do not like outsiders parachuting in to meddle in their affairs. Fortunately, we were not outsiders. We had been doing work in Iowa for years. Lambda Legal staff from the Midwest office had crisscrossed the state doing safe schools trainings, and we had obtained an accurate birth certificate for a transgender woman born in Iowa. We had also successfully fought off the efforts of anti-gay legislators to sue a judge who had granted 2 women a dissolution of their civil union. Through years of work by former and current staff members, we had built a web of relationships and trust across the state. Many people, largely those on the coasts, scoffed at us for even thinking of filing a lawsuit in Iowa and told us we were crazy. But as we explored the possibility of filing a lawsuit, our legal research told us of Iowa's strong precedent concerning liberty and equality. We also knew we could rely on Iowa's tradition of leadership on civil rights issues. Iowa was the first state in the nation to admit a woman to practice law. Iowa desegregated its schools almost 100 years before Brown versus Board of Education. And Iowa was among the first states to remove its anti-miscegenation law from the books. We became convinced that Iowa could open the door to equality in the Midwest. We began a public education effort about the importance of marriage equality, holding town halls and panel discussions. And as President Lincoln once said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." So we invested many resources in bringing the hearts and minds of the public along with us. Lisa Hardaway, our media relations director, along with the help of our legal assistants, Sarah Groom and Cheryl Angelaccio and Graciela Gonzalez, held speakers trainings on marriage equality and went to numerous Pride celebrations, giving up every June weekend one year. Jim Bennett and Katina Lowry and Hector Vargas, along with our marriage educator in Des Moines, Matt Fender, worked tirelessly for years in conjunction with the statewide equality group, One Iowa, to build a climate in Iowa in which the Iowans would embrace victory when the decision came down. With the brilliance and the expertise of lawyers like Pat Loeb and Ken Upton in Dallas, and our co-counsel, former Solicitor General of Iowa, Dennis Johnson, we filed the lawsuit in 2005. As a result of a few disappointing losses in other states, we made two strategic decisions. First, we added children as plaintiffs, because the defendant argued that marriage laws are for the purpose of protecting children. We wanted him to answer why our children are any less deserving of respect or protections. Second, we designated 9 of the world's most prominent and well-respected social scientists as our expert witnesses. This was extraordinarily expensive, and we defended and took depositions all over the world. But the resulting decision was remarkable in a number of respects. First, it was a unanimous decision, the first unanimous decision to order the issuance of marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Second, that it is in the heartland, and written in such powerful, simple prose, makes clear that when faced with a marriage ban, the only common sense, decent, and even obvious thing to do is to strike it down. It's that simple. It makes clear that marriage equality is consistent with the most core and basic American values, namely commitment to families and fair treatment by government. Also, it demonstrates to all Americans that marriage equality is inevitable nationwide, and that it's now time to get on the right side of history. It has mainstreamed marriage equality for the nation, and it has created powerful momentum, especially we hope for those of us here in Illinois. This case was the result of beautiful teamwork. Teamwork between lawyers and grassroots organizers, between media staff and the legal team, between the legal staff and Iowans on the ground, including the statewide equality group, One Iowa, and most of all, it was made possible by all of you. So thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts.